Hello everyone, welcome back to another class. In this class we are going to discuss about the taxonomy, that is our next topic from the first chapter of NCERT, the living world. So let's first discuss about the term taxonomy. As you can see, this term has derived from two terms. If we'll see, taxis and nomos. Taxis and nomos. Okay, before moving ahead into the taxonomy and in all of this rest of the parts of this video tutorial, let me first tell you that from where the need came for classification of the organisms, right? In our previous video, I have already talked about the biodiversity. Biodiversity means we have seen that there are lots of varieties in the particular area or among the world. We can see that there are lots of organisms, varieties of organisms are present there. So how we can identify them or how we can recognize them, that which organism or which classes they belong to or which type of organism they are. So to ease that, scientists thought that why not to take some way that we can classify them, we can identify them, we can give them some name. So from there the concept came, the classification concept came in the mind of the scientist. So now let us move ahead with the taxonomy. Taxis means classification, and nomos means this is the rules. There must be some rule or system by following which the classification will be done. Means the classification of the organism will be done by following some rules. That is considered as taxonomy. First time by scientist A.P. de Candolle, the term taxonomy was used, but the father of taxonomy is Carolus Linnaeus. This scientist was the father of taxonomy. Actually, he did a lots of things for giving the names to the living organisms, and that is why he is considered as father of taxonomy. His work was first published in the book which is considered as Systema Naturae, which is known as Systema Naturae. Okay, so these are a few informations which are very helpful for your exam because from these topics often the questions can be asked. Now let us see that what is taxonomy, what is the meaning of that. When we need to classify some organism, the first step which we need to follow, that is identification, right? So there is the step identification. Now for identifying some species or some organism, we can see different types of characteristics. We can see the normal simple character which we can see from outside for any organism. Let us take one example of hibiscus flower. If somebody will tell you that how you can identify this is hibiscus flower and not rose or not lotus, then you can say that yes, it is having the petals, 5 number of petals, 5 number of sepals are there, it is having red colored petals. So all of these criteria, whatever we are seeing, whatever we are telling, all of these we can see from outside of the flower. So that characters are considered as morphological characters. Now only depending upon the morphological characters, when we will classify the organisms, then that taxonomy, that type of taxonomy is considered as alpha taxonomy. Okay, so in that way, depending upon identification, we can say there are two types of taxonomy: alpha taxonomy and another type of taxonomy is also present there, where the classification can be done after the identification can be done after seeing different other few other types of characters like anatomical characters, physiological characters, because only seeing morphological feature is not enough. Okay, so to identify the organisms and to classify them accurately, we need to see that each and everything, like from the developmental study, we need to do the developmental study, embryonic development, then anatomical character, physiological character, everything we need to consider. So by considering all of these characters which taxonomy is working, that is considered as omega taxonomy. So that type of taxonomy is considered as omega taxonomy. In this way, depending upon various types of characters, when we can do the identification of the organisms or classification of the organisms can be done, that is considered as omega taxonomy. So alpha taxonomy and omega taxonomy, these two are the parts. Now the second step, once you have seen all the characters, observation is done, you have identified the organism, then you need to give some name to them. Then comes the second step, that is considered as nomenclature. Now here came the confusion arise that what is the meaning of nomenclature and how to give the name to some organism, right? Because for one particular organism, they have local name to some area where they belong to, and to some other area of the earth, of the world, people may know that same thing with a different name. So how to give them the name? The confusion came in the mind. So to ease that, Linnaeus gave wonderful idea to give the scientific name to the organisms, so that there will be only one name assigned to one particular individual. With that name only, that individual will be known to the whole world. So there will be no more confusion at all. Let us take one example. That is, let us take the example of potato. Okay. So this is the scientific name of potato. Okay. Now Carolus gave this. Carolus said that Linnaeus said that no need to give a lots of names to them. Just give two names. Two names will be there. One will be considered as generic name, and the second one will be considered as species name. So the first name is considered as genus name, and the second name is considered as the species name. So let me just write it down here. This is genetic name, or let us say genus name. Let us say this is considered as genus name, and this is considered as species name. So in case of this, in this way, there are two only terms or two components in each and every name will be given. First component is considered as genus name, and the second component will be considered as species name. And as this is consisting of two components, that's why this system is known as binomial nomenclature. Okay. So this is considered as binomial nomenclature. So who invented this system of giving name or naming of the organism? Carolus Linnaeus was the scientist who first invented this procedure, that by giving binomial nomenclature, by following binomial nomenclature, after identifying some species, we can give them the name. So as it is consisting of two components, that is why it is called as binomial nomenclature. In this way, several other individuals have several names like Panthera leo, Panthera tigris, then Solanum nigrum, Solanum tuberosum. In this way, different names are given to some animal, to the animals, to all the animals as well as to all the plants. Now, as he invented this as binomial nomenclature, that is why he is also considered as the father of binomial nomenclature. There are several rules which used to be followed by the scientists or the researchers who have invented some new species or any new individual. What are the names? Let us quickly view that. Okay. So let us quickly see that. Just see. In case of giving the name, the first component of the name will always be the genus name, and the second component will always be the species name. Or in case of the genus name, as you can see, it has started with the capital letter, and in case of the species name, it will always start with the small letter. Okay. So in case of first component, in the genus name and the species name, the scientific name altogether will be given the genera or the generic name, whatever we can say, that will always be written in italics, and whenever someone will write it down on the board or on the copy, or that means handwritten. In the handwritten purpose, when it will be done, then each and every parts, each and every component, that is two of the components, will have to be underlined. That is why I have underlined it. See, solanum I have underlined, and tuberosum also I have underlined it. Okay. So both of the components of the binomial nomenclature has to be underlined. So these are few common rules. More rules are there, but we are not going into that deep. When you study in your higher classes, then you will look into that. Okay. So these are the few common characteristics which has to be followed by all the researchers, each and every human being. Okay. Everybody has to follow that rules. So now to follow the rules for giving the names to the plants, there is one institution which you can see, which you can find in your book also. It is given, that is ICDM and ICZM, which are coding for International Code for Botanical Nomenclature and International Code for Zoological Nomenclature. So these two institutions are there where they follow that, whether they are following, everybody is following before giving name, that everybody is following all the characteristics, all the rules, whatever has been said by these institutions or not, for plants or animals respectively. Okay. So in this way the nomenclature is done. Once you have identified the species, you have given them the name. Now you need to classify them. After seeing the similarities or dissimilarities, everything, you will classify them. So now next step is classification. So all together, these identification, nomenclature, that is giving name, and the classification, altogether these three are the component are giving rise to the taxonomy. So if someone will tell you that define taxonomy, taxonomy is nothing but the system of arrangement of the organisms by following the identification, giving name or nomenclature, and the classification. That is considered as taxonomy. Now, students often get confused between these two terms. That's why I have written here this term, that is systematics. What is systematics? Students often think that both of them are similar, but there is a little bit small difference between these two. What is that difference? Just see here. In the systematics, we will follow all of these steps like identification, nomenclature, classification. All of these steps will follow. But along with all of these steps, we need to consider what is the phylogenetic relationships among the individuals. That is phylogenetic relationships. So phylogenetic relationships, how that will, the study of phylogenetic relationships, that means how the organism have been evolved, what is the interrelationship between one individual and other individual, and how they can adapt to some changing environment. So to study the phylogenetic relationship will actually help us to solve that matter, that how one individual can adapt itself to certain environment. Okay. So that is considered as systematics. So systematics is a little bit more broader aspect than the taxonomy. Okay. So in such a way we can differentiate between the taxonomy and the systematics. Now here if you will see that after classify them, we need to put all of the organisms together into certain category. All those categories are termed as taxa. So you can see here the different types of categories are there, and this kind of level-wise organization is considered as hierarchical system. So if you can find here that hierarchy, it is written here. What is the meaning of this? This is nothing but level-wise organization. So I can write it down here, that level-wise organization. Level-wise organization or arrangement, we can say further that arrangement of individual. Okay, so level-wise arrangement or organization of individual, here we can find that from the smallest level to the highest level, the categories are there, and all the organisms will be put together depending upon their characters, identifying characters. They will be put together into specific taxa. So these are considered as taxa. Species is one taxa. Okay, taxa or taxon we can say. Genus is another taxon. So in this way we can say that these are the different taxa or taxon. That means each category are called as taxon. Okay. So this is all about the hierarchical. Here you can see one hierarchical arrangement. This is maybe you are finding little bit familiar with, because in NCERT book you can find this. I have taken this from NCERT only. The hierarchical arrangement, this is actually ascending arrangement. Why it is ascending arrangement? Because species is the lowest category or smallest category, and the largest category is the kingdom. The wonderful thing is the similarities between the organisms is much more in the lowest category, and as you will go higher in the hierarchical category, then you will find that there are very few features which you can say as similarities, and the dissimilarities features are much more, okay, than the similarity features. So what are species? If we will go into that, the species are such individuals or the group of the individuals where the fundamental or the basic characters are exactly same, and they can interbreed between themselves. Here one example has been taken like Solanum tuberosum, but apart from these there are Solanum nigrum. There are different types of species. Okay, Solanum melongena is the brinjal and Solanum tuberosum is the potato. Both of them are not similar, we know, but both of them are put together under the same genus. Why so? Because they have some sort of similarities between them, due to having which we can put them together into the same genus. Similarly, when we will go to the family, the Petunia, then Datura, then your Solanum, all of these are put together under the same family. Why so? Because there are certain more characteristics in which they are similar characteristics are there. That's why they can be put together into the family. In this way, when they will go into the highest category, that is the kingdom, all of the plant we can be grouped together into the plant kingdom, and we can put them together into the plant kingdom, right? So in this way we can do the classification system. Now let us move ahead into the taxonomical aids. Let us move into the taxonomical aids, or let us start with the taxonomical aids. What are these? Now all of the informations which will be collected by the researchers, by the scientists, those need to be preserved somewhere, right? So that all the new researchers who will invent some species or something from somewhere, then they can identify them very easily. For preserving all the information, all the data properly, there needs the aid, or there needs to something to preserve the all the information or all the data. From there comes the need of the taxonomical aids. So there are various means of preserving data, like there is first one is herbarium. Herbarium is a process. I can show you one living example, that is in these kind of sheets the plant specimens can be preserved. These kind of sheets, the plant specimens can be preserved, and one tag will be added to it, in which each and every small details will be given, as well as there will be the sticker where who has collected the specimen, who has given them the name, who has identified them, in which type of habitat this plant was found, what is the scientific name of this plant, that can be given, so that these specimens will be collected and they can be preserved altogether for the future use. Okay, so this is the herbarium. Next is museum. We all know that from the very previous time, each and every specimen can be preserved in the museum. Museum is the best place for the preservation. Within the museum, there are so many glass jar inside which you can find several specimens. Large animal specimens can be stuffed first, and by putting some stuff in between them and inside them, and then they can be preserved very well in that museum, right? Next is the Zoological Park or the zoo. You know that human beings try to provide the proper environment, almost proper environment to the animals, so that they can properly breed there, they can eat the food, they can live their own healthy life, normal life in there. So similarly, there are identification keys. Now identification keys means there will be some contrasting characters depending upon which the one of the specimens can be identified. So that is why the name identification key. Actually, these keys will help one to identify some specimens. Along with all of these things, flora, fauna, manuals, monographs, all of these things are there. Like flora is nothing but all the plant specimens of a particular area, that is considered as flora. Fauna means all the kind of animals, whether it is the story of insect, whether it is the story of something else like mollusca, from any one of the category, from all of the categories, whatever animals are present in one particular geographic location, in one habitat, that is considered as fauna. Next is your manual. Manual and monographs both are handwritten. In the manual, when we will study the manual, then we will get to know about some particular species, what are the habitats, in which kind of habitat the species used to grow, that we can know from the manual. And from the monograph, we can get the information about various types of taxa. Say for example, for a time, at a time, one can write down about only one taxa, and that can be considered as monograph. So here I am ending this session. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you found so, then please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.